it's interesting how sometimes we make things far more complicated than they need to be.
I know. Well, that's because we're so clever. We come up with great ideas.
Yes, yes. So good. Well, we've got we've just passed by the 8 o'clock hour, and we've got a good crowd here, and maybe some more will show up. Some do come straggling in, but welcome everybody from everywhere. This is the second Tuesday hypnosis group, always meeting the second Tuesday of every month at the Leaning Tower Y, right here. And you're all here again, and that's wonderful. We've got Shelley, Dr. Shelley here from the West Coast, all the way from the West Coast, 2,000 miles electronically right here to give us our talk tonight. She's the author of 25 books. Some of you have known her for speaking at the conferences, and it's always a joy to, it's always the one to get into is her talks, because it's always full of joy and light and love and compassion. I've known her for many years, and she's always been in my family. So without further ado, we'll listen to Shelley talking about regression to the basics. Thank you for coming.
Right. Thank you so much, my friends. It's all about the base, no trouble. And I thought it would be very interesting for us to get down to the basics of simple things. So before I actually launch into everything I have to say, I want to hear what you want to say about why you do hypnosis. So everybody unmute yourself and let's hear reasons why you do hypnosis or why you're fascinated with hypnosis. What's the draw for you? Just speak it out.
Okay.
What I do with okay.
Yeah, we'll all jump at once. This is Bob. I mean, I took it up for self-improvement, and it's never stopped. And I think most of my life since I started formally in college, that things have happened to me that I never even dreamed or thought of. So many good things have happened, and I think it's just they having a positive, being self-confident, and they know that you can do it if you just stick to it. So yeah, I have no regrets. I mean, I've taken off.
Self-improvement, very nice, good, solid reason. Somebody else, David, you were going to say something.
I was going to say that I was always fascinated by the power of the subconscious mind. And when I discovered that there was hypnosis and that there was actually like formal learning that one could actually go and discover. So I went and became certified, even though I don't actually do hypnosis for a living or anything.
But the learning fascinated you.
Yeah, always fascinated.
How about you, Donald? Why?
Well, I've again always fascinated with the mind, and hypnosis is a like the most expedient therapy I know. But my main interests are past life regression and the spirit releasement. I even teach spirit releasement to other therapists. There's just so much when we can get to like the initializing events, and sometimes not even in this lifetime. It goes way back. And it's all the same stuff, same techniques. Like I think, we all use the same techniques, but it's every client has their own story, and every situation is just fascinating. I love the work.
It's like reading a novel every time. Anybody else want to share what you love about hypnosis? Or yes, Renee.
So I just love when people are like giving me all these kudos about how many wonderful changes they've made. And I always say to them, all I did was guide you. You were the one that did all the work. And it just is so amazing. Like one instant is that I'm just so fascinated with this woman tortured herself for 20 years. She could not drive over a bridge because of an almost accident that she had on a bridge where there was construction. And for 20 years, she couldn't drive over the bridge. And we did 2 sessions and she drove over the bridge, but she had a real benefit to doing that because her daughter lived on the other side of the bridge and her daughter was going to have a baby. So she didn't want to keep on bugging her to always come and pick her up. She would actually go up to the bridge, call an Uber, have the Uber take her over the bridge to her daughter's. And then her daughter would go, why did you do that? And she goes, oh, you're pregnant. I didn't want to bother you and all that. So then I got to have a picture of the baby like 2 months later but it's like things like that I'm going, oh my gosh, she tortured herself for 20 years.
Yes.
And now, that's like, that to me is amazing also
It's remarkable. Remarkable. Anybody else want to say why you love hypnosis?
I had a very corrupt and unidealistic beginning. I'm a frustrated magician, and I couldn't make my hands do the prestidigitation stuff. So I fell back on being a stage hypnotist. But of course, once I learned more about it, I used the show as a public service the way Pat Collins used to. And primarily now I'm a lecturer, and I taught self-hypnosis classes alongside. So I'm probably a redeemed stage hypnotist.
So, y'all have your good reasons for being a hypnotist. And one of the things that happens is that you have to sit back once in a while and say to yourself, why would someone want to go to a hypnotist? Why would they want to go? And there's really only one answer that I can come up with. I can come up with dozens of almost answers, and I'm sure you can too. But the number one answer I come to every time is that people come to a hypnotist to feel great. They come to feel terrific. And it really almost doesn't matter if you're doing a stage show or if you're having them regress to another lifetime, or if they're afraid of bridges, or whatever the reason, they really come with the intention of feeling great. If they don't come with that intention, they'd be better off going to a psychiatrist or a psychologist where they could masturbate misery for a long time. But that's not our job, because our job, as I see it, and my presupposition in doing hypnosis, is that every client who comes to see me comes to feel terrific. I have some other presuppositions, and you probably do too. And another presupposition that served me well and my clients well is I presuppose that my clients know everything there is about themselves, and I know nothing. That they know everything about themselves, and I know nothing. Except I know how to hold a mirror so they can reflect on their perfection. And one of the mistakes that hypnotists make is sometimes they think that the hypnosis session is because they're so clever or so amazing, or they have this technique or that technique. But that's so far from the truth from my perspective. From my perspective is, if I can engage that person's essential self, their core essence, into the session to give advice to them, the problems are generally solved. Now, it doesn't mean I don't use good techniques and I can get rid of a phobia really fast and I can do this and that and the other thing. But the truth is, as I see it, is they know how they got themselves in a revolting development, and they know how to get out of that revolting development because they created it for themselves, or life helped them create that for themselves. So I thought it would be fun for us to do a little exploration about ourselves, to talk about our essence, that part of you that knows everything there is to know about you. And I thought we could begin by doing a quick drawing. So if you want to get a pencil and paper out, we're going to do a little quick sketch of something. And it's not an art lesson. It's just going to be you scribbling a drawing. And this drawing is going to be quite simple, really. I'd like you, without thinking too much, just take out a pencil and pad or pen and go ahead and without thinking, please draw a tree. Any tree will do. Just draw yourself a nice tree. I'm going to do it too. Yeah, just draw yourself some nice little tree. And remember to breathe, because if you don't breathe, you'll keel over and you'll be dead, but that's not a good idea. So let's just all draw some trees. Have a good old time drawing your trees. And really, this is not an art class. You don't even have to show it to us, but if you want to, you could. But right now, we're just drawing a tree. Okay. Give you just another minute to just draw yourself your tree the way you like it to be. You are Art Therapy 101 is what you're doing right now. It's really fun to draw a tree. Cool. So when you draw a tree, you're just letting your unconscious or your spontaneous self draw a tree. You might have been drawing trees like that since you were a kid. I don't know. But you've all drawn your tree. And we're going to use the tree for insight, just a little self-awareness. So look at your tree and imagine that the tree that you just drew symbolizes you in relationship to the world. Can you imagine that with me? That represents you in relationship to the world. And it represents your conscious and unconscious thinking, basically. And one way to look at a tree, which may or may not be accurate, but this is just off the top of my tree. If the trunk on your tree is pretty sturdy, that means you're probably pretty strong, stretched, and at the base of the tree, which are the roots, if you have roots, and moving on up to the branches, that would be your whole life from beginning, from your birth to the branches where you are now. That's another way of looking at it. And if there's any kind of weird thing halfway up your timeline, maybe halfway on your life, you had a very emotional or dramatic or life-changing event. That's one way to look at it. Anybody see that in their trunk that's relevant to them? Yeah. If your tree is surrounded by a lot of flowers and other trees, it could mean that you're very social. That's what some people say. And then if you have a lot of foliage or a lot of branches coming out of your tree, it could mean that you have a lot of different gifts, talents, interests, focuses. You know, you're multi-talented. You have a lot of things take your attention, let's say. If you're only one or two branches, maybe you're very focused on one or two things. You know, it depends on, I'm going to show you my tree. I don't have any branches because it's just one big mob of stuff. Okay. Anybody else want to hold up their tree? We'd love to see it. Just hold it up by your camera. Hold it kind of close to your camera. Oh, those are nice. Wow, those are great. Awesome. Awesome trees. They're great. So that's super. Looking at your tree now, please look and see how about the roots. The roots may symbolize, some people say, your family of origin. Could be like Donald takes people to other lifetimes. It could be that, or it could be your birth family, your family of origin, or it could be how grounded you feel. For some reason, I don't have a root system on my tree. I guess I've kind of left that behind at this moment, and I'm very present right here, right now in my tree. But I'm doing self-analysis because, hey, who knows me better than me? Who knows you better than you? So you're looking at your tree, you're getting an idea. Now, I thought it would be fun to do another focus on trees and put this tree just to the side because we're going to draw another one at the end of this little exercise. And I would like to share my screen. So I guess, Donald, can you let me share the screen?
Let's see, we're working on it here. I need to make
Okay.
you participant here. Shelley, more co-host.
I am the co-host, and I'm going to share.
There.
Now, what I'm going
Okay.
to share with you is something that came to me because I once met a woman who was like, she was really old to me at that time. She was 90. That doesn't seem as old to me right now, but I will tell you at that time, it's really old. Anyway, and I said, well, what's your secret? How old are you anyway? And she stood up, she lifted up her blouse, pulled down her pants sort of, and showed me her belly button. And she said, to determine my age, please count the rings around my belly button. And so I thought, well, that's a kind of a novel idea. That led me to an idea that I thought could be worthy of us. And it would be an idea that we might consider ourselves like a cross section of a tree and understand that our essential self might be the center of that tree. So here is a little slideshow I'm going to share with you. And it's very simple. Let me find it here. Share screen and share screen and share screen. And here we have this wonderful thing that I call the tree of me. And the tree of me could be that tree we just drew, but it also could be, let me see. We drew the tree. And I'd like you to think about this for a minute. If we were a cross section of your tree, we would have in the center of that thing, that tree called me, a core or essence. In other words, think about it this way. You came to this planet as that little newborn baby, kind of like Renee's little baby that just came this morning. You came here as a perfect little specimen of life. You were given an earth walk, and in that core of you, that very, very essence of you, is who you really are. That was before anybody hypnotized you into any belief system, any attitude, any notion about you. You just were your truth. You were a beautiful little sperm and egg that made it. You were a miracle. You were an egg in your mother's womb. You chose your sperm to be yourself. You grew yourself as a fetus. You got yourself born. And there you were saying, look at me, I'm born, I'm a baby, and I'm perfect. And you were, and you still are at your core. Now, that core essence of you is very important. And it's very important because in that essence, you have a certain quality or characteristic or nature. So I'd like you now to just take a deep breath, close your eyes for a minute, and just tend and befriend your core self. Just think about, who am I? I've changed a lot through the years, but there's an essential me, a core me, my true self that tells me the truth about me. And I am honest with my dealings and feelings in this essential self. Here in this core of me is my innate wisdom. It's the wisdom that allowed me to grow from that egg and sperm into that fetus, into that baby, into the person I am today, and into the old 110-year-old I'll be before I ascend. Take a deep breath now. And just stay present as you enjoy each golden moment being your essential self. You're clear, discerning, blossoming afresh with each breath person that you are. Because as you nurture this core self right now, your core self will start to nurture you again, because you and your core live together in harmony. So at your core, what one word describes you best? Just let the word or words describe you best. What is it that you came here to be, to do, to vibrate, to express, to explore, to embrace? I suspect words come up like love or teaching or kindness or gentleness or curiosity. And ask your core self right now, because you're breathing to it, exactly what is necessary for me to be my best. Exactly what is necessary for me to be my best. And I know you've got some great, great ideas. Take a deep breath. And if one comes to mind, you can call it out if you like. What is it that allows you to be your best? Deep breath. Let it out. Now you were born, and after you were born, an interesting thing happened. Open your eyes, and you'll see on the screen, you got hypnotized. You got hypnotized by the big people, the ones who birthed you or nurtured you or watched over you or didn't nurture you, however it was for you, but they taught you their values. And you had to learn their values really, really fast, because if you didn't please the lady with the milk, you would not get the milk. And if you didn't please the man, he might kill you, God knows. And if you didn't please your siblings, oh my goodness, you were in big trouble. So you had to adjust to a set of values that were enforced and imbued upon you immediately. And you were hypnotized to embrace those values, the values of your culture, the values of the religions you were taught, the values of things that parents valued, they held near and dear. And some of those values maybe still are your values. So I'd like you to ask yourself this question, take a deep breath, close your eyes again, think about what you've come to value, and think about what you learned to value from your environment that you were born into. What did that environment teach you to value? And also ask yourself, what did I learn to value from my experiences when I came here? Because you had a lot of experiences as a little child, a baby, a small being. You had lots of experiences, and you picked up a set of values from those experiences. And then here's a really important question that you might ask yourself. Do the values that I downloaded as a child reflect who I am and who I want to be now? Do the values that I absorbed and collected and believed as a child, are they the same values that I choose to have right here now? And then here's the most important question right there. Are your values in alignment with your core? Have what you come to value today, are those values in alignment with your core? Because some of the things you were taught may not be in alignment with your core. Take a deep breath again. Let it out. Open your eyes, and the next tree ring around the essence and core of you is your beliefs. Now, you were really hypnotized into beliefs. because beliefs were indigenous to the stories you were told, the stories you told yourself, the stories people told you, the stories you were told by the environment, by the culture, and by the big people. And those beliefs have determined what you notice, what you respond to, and a lot of decisions you make are based on beliefs. They're kind of the engine that drives you when you think about it. And because these beliefs are fused neurologically to memory, you start to repeat your beliefs again and again and again, and you wind up hypnotizing yourself into a whole series of beliefs. And some of the beliefs that you've hypnotized yourself into may or may not be serving you well. And there's only one way to know. So take a deep breath, please. Close your eyes again and ask yourself this really pressing question. Do the beliefs that I downloaded as a child reflect who I am and who I want to be now? You might ask yourself, what beliefs did I take on as a child about my health? Did I believe I was a healthy child, or am I a sickly person? What beliefs did you bring forth about just being happy? Did you believe you were supposed to suffer, or were you supposed to be joyous? Did you believe that money was most important, or relationships? In other words, thinking about what you come to absorb as beliefs. And then ask yourself this very important question again. Is what I've come to believe in alignment with my core? Is what I've come to believe about myself, my health, my attitudes, my path, my purpose, is what I have come to believe in alignment with my core? Really important question indeed. Is it in alignment with my core? And if it's not, you might want to shift a belief or two, because who knows, might have a different attitude. So I'd like you to repeat these words to yourself. I'm in charge of my beliefs. Positive beliefs positively shape me to have more rewarding experiences, because I achieve what I believe. So go ahead and believe now that your core essential self knows exactly the best beliefs for you to embrace. Just imagine that your core self is telling you just exactly how to align yourself with your core self and your belief systems. And then we'll go to the next ring on the tree of me. If you open your eyes, has to do with your personality. You know, your personality is the mask you wear. It's the way you present yourself to the world, you know? Are you going to present yourself to the world, you know, in some kind of strange way, you know, like, oh, I'm a real goofball? Or are you going to present yourself to the world as something a little more serious, or, you know, more intellectual, more focused? You know, you take on a persona. You choose of all your subpersonalities the way you're going to present yourself to the world. So, you know, the most important ring in terms of how you behave outside yourself are these personalities that you embrace when you talk to others, when you deal with your clients or your friends or your family. So you can have a beautiful personal experience of beauty and growth, or you can be growthing people out. It depends on what kind of personality you want to present to the world. So think about your personality now and ask yourself, gee, is this the way I want to present myself? It makes me think about a story about, remember the movie The Producers that had Zero Mostel in it? It was a really good movie a long time ago. And Mel Brooks, who was the director, was really cranky one day. And he was like screaming and yelling, and he was on this absolute tirade. And Zero Mostel stood up, walked off the set, and said, I shall return to my dressing room and wait until your tantrum is over. And Mel Brooks said, are you telling me that you're going to stop this $1 million production to sit in your dressing room until my tantrum is over? And he said, yes. So Brooks stood up and said, oh, my tantrum's over. It was as simple as a decision that he made about the face he would show to his crew when he was shooting that movie. And we do that all the time. You make a choice how you're going to show yourself. And some are flattering and some are downright silly. That's your choice. So take a deep breath now and ask yourself this question. Here's another one. Do I present myself to others with a sense of respect and humor? Or do I have a acute case of curiosity? Do the aspects of me when I'm working or when I'm playing or when I'm with my family, are those the faces I want to show my friends, my clients, my loved ones? You have a choice there, which is really important. And then most importantly of all, take a deep breath. Is the face that I show the world in alignment with my core? Is the face that I show the world in alignment with my core? And affirm this now. My interests, my attitudes, and my roles are the masks that I show, and I choose to present myself in ways that genuinely represent my core. I choose to present myself to others in ways that genuinely reflect my core. So think about how you present yourself to your kids or your parents or your family or your friends. And sometimes you need to adjust your personality a little bit because you're a growing, maturing personality and you're hypnotizing yourself basically to present yourself in a certain way to the world. And these are all levels of hypnosis that are quite basic to who you are. Now, we take it all together, you project an attitude, a vibration, a frequency. And you know what I'm talking about. Have you met somebody and you just feel like you're repelled by them, like it's the opposite end of a magnet and you just want to get away from them? Or sometimes you're so attracted to them because their attitude is so kindly or welcoming. It's just so glorious to be in their presence. So the next ring on the tree of you is the attitude that you project. And just think about the attitude that you have when you meet a new person, or an attitude you have when you're seeing a client, or you meet a friend, or you meet somebody you don't even like. What kind of attitude do you bring to them? Is it in alignment with your core? See, my core is to be very loving. And there's some people I just don't like. And I have to really do work on that because I want my attitude to reflect my essence. I want them to know that I'm a loving being and that I accept them, even though I may not love them. At least I can respect that they're doing themselves perfectly. I once complained to Orman McGill. I said, Orman, I don't really like that guy. And he said, oh, but Shelley, he's doing himself perfectly. And I had to say, yeah, you're right. He really is. He's doing himself perfectly. And that's worthy of some kind of respect. So take a deep breath and make sure now that your attitude is in alignment with your core. And now the last ring on this tree that I've come up with, maybe you'll come up with others. You hypnotize yourself into the actions that you take. You hypnotize yourself into the actions you take. Your actions are really a quilt of all of these things on this tree of me. Your essence, your values, your beliefs, your personality, your attitude, they all come together, and pretty soon you hypnotize yourself into how it's going to be for you. And who's in charge of it? Who's driving the car? You are. That's the coolest part. You're in charge of this journey that you're on. So ask yourself, are my actions coming from my core self? Or are they coming from a hypnosis that somebody else laid on me? Are you a sheep, bah, following the herd? Or are you hearing your essential self and following your true nature? That's a really important question to ask yourself, especially now in this time. Because there's a lot of people doing herd instinct, and they're being hypnotized to not think and not own their nature. And that's not okay with me, but maybe it can be for others. So I'd like you all to affirm with me, and you can say this out loud. I align my actions to my core self. I align my actions to my core self, and I choose to be in harmony so that I'm healthy and happy, and that I stand tall in my tree of integrity. And so it is, and so it shall be. Take another gentle breath and think of yourself now as that tree. You drew a tree a minute ago. You drew a tree and it didn't have roots, or it had roots, but I'd like you to draw another tree right now. And this time I'd like you to draw the tree, and I'd like you to think about the base of your tree as your essence, and see how your tree is drawn now. Go ahead and draw a tree that kind of reflects your essential self, your core self, and see if your tree is the same or varies, or just do a whole new tree. And I'm seeing that my tree is much more grounded. It's got roots. Oh my gosh, my tree has more roots. And I'm feeling my trunk is much thicker and much more centered. I'm strong, stretched, and centered as I draw my particular tree. And you might notice yours might have changed its focus slightly too. Just see what you've come up with your tree, and you might look at the difference. There might be a difference in one tree where you're very much strong, stretched, and centered in your core, and the other one where you were just spontaneously being right then in that moment of time. So you can unmute yourself and tell me, was there any difference in the trees that you drew? Anybody want to share?
I drew a pine tree with other pine trees initially. And this last one, I drew a redwood.
Yeah, interesting. And I had a little scrawny thing there, and then this one was like really big and bold. So yeah, it changed for me. It changed for anyone else? Anyone else want to share? Just unmute yourself if you want to share.
I have better, wider roots. Thank you.
Better, wider roots. Cool. That's
I feel
good.
for me, the trunk was a lot wider, more broad.
Nice. You're more centered, let's say. So, I like this idea of the tree, because when you're in your tree of integrity and your client walks in, or your friend or somebody you're going to hypnotize by your presence, the more you feel solid in yourself, the more likely you are to convey this kind of integration into your greatness. You've taken all aspects and And then you can hold the mirror really steady for your client or your friend or your family, or because you know you're okay. And you know you're in touch with your essence and who you really are. Anybody else want to share the difference between your trees?
I had thicker branches and deeper roots.
Interesting. Very nice. How do you feel right now?
I feel stronger.
Awesome.
I feel like Godzilla.
And you are Godzilla.
Yes, I am.
Happy New You. So, really, it's so interesting. We're always growing. This is how the flowers grow. I have watched them and I know. First above the ground is seen a tiny speck of purest green, then reaching out and peeping forth east and west and south and north. And we start to grow ourselves afresh. We start to create our best self. Well, actually, we are that person all along because our essence has always been with us. But now we're owning our essence more, perhaps. And the more you own your true nature, the more you are probably going to do your work. And you'll be more calm and peaceful and clear-minded, feeling more strength in your very being. So that was just a little way to kind of focus on how to celebrate me, how to celebrate you, and how to celebrate us, just how to do that. And so I'd like you to take a deep breath now and do something really fun. Ready? Put your hand on your shoulder. Put your other hand on your other shoulder. And give yourself a big hug. Just give yourself a big hug. And now go ahead and reverse it. Other hand, other side, crossing the other way. Put your head on your hand and rock yourself for a minute. And say these words: I'm proud to be me. I'm proud to be me. And I also see that you're just as proud to be you. And we may look at things a bit differently, but lots of good people do. Rub your hands down your arms. It's just human nature. So why should I hate you for being as human as I? We'll live as we learn, and we learn as we live, and we'll all get along if we try. So everybody, go ahead and kiss the people on this forum. You always say kissing spreads germs, so it's stated. So kiss me, baby, you'll be vaccinated. Ready? Because this is a family. This group is a family, and you know it. That's why I love to come to your conference, because I get to come and see my family. This is my Mid-America family. It's a beautiful group of people when you think about it. And it's so cool that you guys get together and meet up and share things, even when it's really difficult to do it face to face. But when it is face to face, notice how many people you hug at that conference. Isn't that right? You don't, Paul doesn't hug. Well, Paul, next time I see you, I'm going to lay a big kiss on you.
Yeah, remember my socks.
Okay.
Okay.
So, just such a cool thing when you get to come together with friends and strangers. And some of you are definitely stranger than others. And that makes it fun and easy to be with you because you're all a little eccentric. As a matter of fact, the International Hypnosis Federation, my organization, has over 5,000 members. And some of them are really different. And isn't that interesting? Aren't we the most interesting group of people in the world? And I think, and this is just me talking, I think that this hypnosis community that we're part of is probably some of the greatest people on the planet because they've taken the time for self-exploration and they've learned by helping others. And the insight that you get when you're holding the mirror, how many of you have helped somebody with something and it helped you? Raise your hand if that's happened to you. Like the person comes in and you're just really helping them a lot by holding the mirror and they leave and you go, I get it. I get it. I really get it. Boy, that was a good message for me. I better listen up, listen up, listen up, listen up. So take a deep breath again. Let it out. And as a takeaway so far from what I've talked about, what's going to be your takeaway from this talk so far? What have you learned that might give you a different focus? You can unmute yourselves.
We learned a good way to focus on our core and see how all the layers are on the outside of that. And well, my core was love. And so it's just remembering, which is something that we do as therapists to our clients. And that helps us to remember who we are every time. Every time I see a client or do a session of any kind, I'm always remembering who I am in through that. So.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that I like to do with my clients, and this has worked really well for me, is I do an interview first when they first come in. And probably all of you do an interview, and probably most of you active listen. They say something, you repeat it back, you follow their gestures, their breath, their motion. You get into rapport, right? And then the next thing that happens after you're in rapport, you may teach them self-hypnosis or you may just hypnotize them. You do an induction, you do a deepening. And then what I do, which I find extremely useful, is I say these words. I say, now that you're very relaxed, the whole reason we're in hypnosis is because when you're in this state of mind, you easily connect with the part of you that's wise beyond wise. You're all-knowing, I call it my all-knowing inner self, my core essential self. I'd like to speak directly to that part of you. Would that be all right with you? And they nod their head. And I say, higher self, all-knowing self, you've known this person since they first began life inside their mother's womb, and you've known them their whole earth walk. What do you want to tell them about the interview we just had when they told me blah, 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 blah? What would you like to say about the interview we just had? And then I sit back and be quiet, because that's where the work is done. And I don't have to do a thing. And that person then says to me from the higher self, well, you know, that's kind of crazy. She knows darn good and well why she got sick, because she didn't da, and she's drinking, you know, blah, 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 and she's doing blah, blah, and she needs to stop that. And she would just do that. And all of a sudden, the entire thing unravels into the essential wisdom of that human being. Or occasionally the higher self will say, you know, she seems to be stuck in this one place, and we seem to be stuck there. And I say, higher self, since you know her so well or him so well, is it in their best interest to go to the source of the problem and solve it, or just simply solve it right here, right now? Either way, we're going to solve it. Do they need to go to the source of the problem and solve it, or do we just need to solve it? And the higher self will tell you, please do not regress people to the source of a problem unless the higher self gives permission. You do not know if it's in their best interest. Because sometimes people bury unpleasant memories for good reason, and they do not need to stoke it up and relive it and resurrect it and masturbate misery. They don't need to do that again and again and again. We tuck things away for very good reasons. So always ask the empowered higher self for their wisdom and guidance. If they happen to be very spiritual or religious, the higher self is the direct channel to God or guidance, however they frame it. And it becomes this beautiful, beautiful reckoning that comes from their own core essential self. It's a beautiful happenstance. Also, I will tell the higher self, now that we know what needs to be done, you're going to take over. When they're asleep, when they're awake, you're going to make it so. So when they walk out my door right now, today, it's already a done deal. Nod your head if you understand. Nod their head, they understand. Do I know what just happened? Absolutely not. I usually don't know anything about what just happened. I just know the proof's in the pudding. And when those people see me in the store or they come back to see me another time, they say, you changed my life. And many of you have changed many lives. They say, Shelley, you changed my life. I don't know what I did. I just empowered them to own their greatness, to integrate their magnificent person. And then I do another thing. And I'm going to do it with you again. Go ahead and put your hand on your shoulder. Put your hand on your other shoulder. Put your head on your hand. And smile on yourself. Smile all over yourself. Now go ahead and laugh on yourself. Because you're adorable. Reverse. Slide your hands down your arms. Put your hands on your face and look at yourself at your Hollywood square on the screen if you can. And look at that precious face that's yours. It was a gift. I like to think that your earth walk was a gift from God, and what you do with it is your gift to God. You are precious. You're beautiful. And in the history of the world, there is not another person just like you. You are amazing. Think about it. Please think about it. Go ahead and tap your thymus. Repeat after me. I'm perfect just the way I am. I'm perfect just the way I am.
Perfect.
Every day in every way.
Every day in every way.
I'm finding new ways to love myself.
I'm finding new ways to love myself.
And to be true to my essence.
And to be true to my essence.
And when I help others, I hold the mirror.
And when I help others, I hold the mirror.
So they can reflect on their perfection.
So they can reflect on their perfection.
And they can own their wisdom and knowledge.
And they can own their wisdom and knowledge.
And so it is.
And so it is.
And so it shall be.
And so it shall be.
You see, it's all about the base, No trouble. It's all about the base. And this is the basic base of it all. They come to feel good. They come to own their perfection and their essence and their internal wisdom. And they know exactly what needs to be done.
No,
And
no,
folks,
no, 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 no.
No, no, no.
I'm so sorry, my cat. I'm muting my cat.
That cat knows exactly what that cat wants. That was hilarious. Anyway, that's what I really wanted to convey, because I think that is the basics. I think that's about as basic as we get. And if you could just pick up a few little tidbits, maybe that'll enhance the wonderful work you're already doing. So I want to thank you for listening to me, taking time out of your busy schedules to let me say what's on my mind. And anything you want to ask me, I'm available right now before we end. Okay.
I just want to say, Shelley, I always love your words of wisdom. And I came to one of the hypnosis conferences, and you told a story about your son and about anchoring and tapping him when he was 15 years old. And I'm going to tell you, I tell that story to so many people, and they just get it. And I just love that story. So just thank you for your words of wisdom. I always appreciate them.
Thank you, Renee. Would you like me to tell you all the story?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I have a really nice son, but when he was a teenager, I would like to have given him away. And he was obnoxious, in my opinion. He was doing himself perfectly. He was pimply and obnoxious. And he was so obnoxious that I actually found myself standing outside his door trying to get him to go to school and yelling at him. And I never yelled at my child, ever. I was just so humiliated that I had sunk to that level. And I said, Shelley, you better get a grip on yourself. This is not how you talk to another human being. You have no right to yell at another person. It is unacceptable. So what are you going to do? I said, well, I'm going to try a little NLP technique that I learned. It probably helps. It's called anchoring. And so I finally got him in the car. And I was fuming because I was so angry that he wouldn't go to school on time. And I had to do this ritual every day to get him to go to school. And so I decided I'm going to change my behavior. So he's next to me in the car, and I put my hand on his shoulder. And I say to him, I'm proud of you, son, because we're going to school. And I take my hand away. He looks very suspiciously at me. He's really smart. He's a Mensa, he's a member of Mensa. And he looks at me like, you moron, what are you doing, Of course, he's 15 also. The next day we get in the car. I'm proud of you, son. And I find some obscure reason why I'm proud because I'm so mad. And I do that many times. Pretty soon I don't have to say I'm proud of you anymore. I just put my hand on his shoulder and he melts. He melts because the most important thing to a boy or a girl or a child is a parent who touches them.
Wow.
He needed touch from his mommy. He needed words of praise from his mommy. And as obnoxious as he was and as pimply as he was, he needed to know that somebody really did care about him. Please don't be afraid to touch people. They desperately need it.
Yeah.
COVID or not.
Yes.
People are dying from lack of love alone. We need touch and we need kind words. Don't forget that. Really important.
Isn't that one of the things that we need to do? Help people to remember that they're loved. And Shelley, that's one of the things that I've known you for all the years I've known you, a lot of years. And that's who you are, is you help people to remember that they are loved. And that's just wonderful. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your wisdom and humor and great ideas too. It's we've learned a lot, and
Yay.
let me quickly tell you this. This is Joe Dispenza. You probably know Joe Dispenza. He did a workshop, and 4-day workshop, 10 minutes a day. He had his group bring joy and gratitude into their hearts. And in those 4 days, their immune system rose by 50%. Our immune system rose way more than that today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you, Shelley.
And thank you all
Shelley.
for coming tonight and sharing your bits of wisdom too, and your energy, all that is 100%. And next month, second Tuesday, we'll be meeting at the YMCA here, the Leaning Tower, one way or another. Love all of you. Thank you so much for coming. Take care. Peace.
Wonderful
Thank you,
presentation. Thank
Ben.
you very much.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Thank
Shelley,
you, Ben. Thank
thank
you,
you very
everyone.
much.
Thank you.
Shelley. Love your Thank you.
Thanks a lot,
faithfulness.
Sherry.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
And thank you, Don and David, for running this.
Yes, thank
Hi,
you.
Louis. Bye, Louis.
Hello, David. Hello, Don.
Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.